Hello, everybody. This is One More Road for the Beer, Travel and Food podcast, where we talk about the great beer cities in Europe, where to drink beer, where to eat good food, where to sleep, and where to go next. I'm Zachary Johnston, and with me, as always, is Joe Stang.
Hi, Zach.
Hello, Joe. It feels like it's been a while, but spring has sprung. The birds are in the air. Where are we going to go?
Well, we already know where we're going to go. I like how we pretend like we haven't discussed it. Where are we going to go? Let's roll the dice. Budapest.
Budapest, eh?
Yeah, Hungary, yeah. I think that, we should say at the outset, it's not a traditional beer-drinking city. Of course, they like beer, but it's not one of the famous sort of cities for beer. But as it happens, they have a burgeoning craft beer scene, and they have a lot of other assets, and it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, I think when I first went to Budapest, which was 16 years ago, it was a lot more focused around wine and sort of like homemade moonshine from fruits. And yes, you still got the like stock adjunct lagers, sort of like as a hangover of the Soviet era, but the beer culture had not really burgeoned yet. Whereas last time I was there and last time you were there, it seemed to have exploded.
Yeah, as it has in so many other places, right? And there's a lot of potential, I think, for Hungary to find its sort of local flavors and pursue them in the beer scene. I did taste some really interesting beers where they use like Tokaj wine barrels. And they were, doing things on grape must and figuring out ways to sort of take advantage of the local taste for smoky things. And but of course, there's a lot of juicy IPAs of the type you can find anywhere, and they were good, but they're maybe not special.
Right. That's kind of, I think, of the parallel. So when I think of Polish Baltic porters with their smoked plums and things like that, when I think Hungarian food, I think spicy, smoky, fatty. Obviously kibasas, but also goulash, and that sort of just rich flavor, which sounds like there could be some interesting beers coming on the horizon, leaning into that.
Well, it all goes well with beer, doesn't it?
Yes, well, that too. It's perfect beer food, that's for sure.
When I was there, this was back in February, and so because of this, you might consider going in February. Partly you'll get cheap flights then, if you go, but also it was the time of the Mangalitsa Pork Festival that was going on. It was happening on Liberty Square, and Mangalitsa is one of the things that Hungary really has that other people don't have, and it is a really fatty, delicious pig.
Okay.
And they prepare it in all sorts of ways, charcuterie and pork rinds and bacon that's so fatty it's not even pink, it's just basically white. And it's, of course, a little bit goes a long way, but it is really fun to try that, and I think we'll get to other food as we get through the show, right? Yeah,
there's some interesting butcher shops and little farmers markets and stuff around beer as well. So what's interesting, because there's Buda and Pest, so it's sort of two cities, but it's one city at the end of the day. I mean, really, it's one place.
And Buda is the castle, right?
As far as I know. Okay. It's like the hill, the castle.
Right, that side of the river.
Yeah, and then Pest is the sort of town below.
Okay, and that's where a lot of the action is as far as restaurants and bars.
Yeah, because it's sort of like tourism side and then tourism side with fun stuff. Yeah. If you want to go out.
We should say at the outset, and I think this is, we like to be honest about these things, we are not local experts on Budapest.
No.
I was there recently, and when I take a trip, I know you do too, we'd like to do our homework, figure out what's good to eat, where should we go drink, and we do our best. I was there with my wife and kids, and so there was a family trip too, so that's sort of, maybe not as ambitious a schedule as normal, but I think actually going with kids, I might have some interesting perspective on places as well. And then you've been there a few times.
Yeah, I've been there, I want to say 4 times over the past 16 years. So, and most recently a couple years ago. And I have actually always been there without kids. So the first couple times just on my own as like a 20-year-old to party and have a good time. And then the last couple times to sort of more take in the city and, what it's about. I took my parents there once when they came to visit, which was really nice because we got to, kind of walk around and really absorb things a bit better than, waking up at 3 p.m. with a hangover and getting ready to do it again. But yeah, it's an interesting place. I've always sort of gone there and been like, wow, this is, on the surface, it feels very familiar, as in, the neoclassical Austro-Hungarian architecture is there. That's similar to Bratislava and Prague and Krakow and even up into Tallinn and Latvia and places like that. But the second you get past that sort of surface level, it's so wholly unique with the language, the culture, and, the food just goes off in a completely different direction than all the countries around it. And so it's the type of place that you kind of have to spend a little time in to appreciate, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I would like to go back. If I get the chance, I will certainly do it.
Yeah, for sure. So stop pontificating and talk about some beer.
Right. Because there is something, I think we didn't mean to talk down the local beer scene. We're just trying to say it's not Bamberg, it's not Brussels, right? But actually, Budapest does have something that none of those other places have, and it's really cool. It's called the Ruin Pubs, the Ruin Bars. And these really are a tourist attraction in their own right. The basic idea is you are an entrepreneur, and there's a dilapidated old building, probably from before the World Wars. You get it at a low price, and you see how many little bars and kitchens and old furniture and interesting art installations and other things you can squeeze into this place, and it becomes an attraction. And the iconic one, I think, is Simpla. Would you agree?
That's kind of the focal point, and also probably the easiest to access.
Right. It's in the Jewish Quarter,
Yeah.
District 7, which is sort of the big restaurant, bar, party area, right?
Pretty much.
One of them, anyway.
One of them, anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to miss.
Right. When I was there was a fairly steady stream of dopey tourists like me going in to take pictures and have a look around, and some of them stayed for a beer, some didn't, or some went to get something to eat. I was a little disappointed in the food there because, I'm not super strict, but I'm looking for local food, and it was all burgers. Not all burgers. There was some goulash, I think, but it was aiming to be hip rather than aiming to be Hungarian, I suppose. But there was a load of beer. There was the Pilsner Urquell tank beers there, and on a couple of different bars. So you're getting the fresh, unpasteurized beer trucked over from the brewery in Pilsen, really delicious, but not Hungarian, of course. But upstairs is the Labor bar, which is a bar for the Mad Scientist brewery, one of the better Hungarian craft breweries. So and you could go up there, and there's a chemistry lab theme, and there's a decent chance you're going to end up drinking like a double IPA from an Erlenmeyer flask or something.
Yeah, it's an interesting place. My plan is always sort of like I roll in there after lunch, post up in that big picture window up front, and just sort of watch the world go by and watch the tourists come in and out and just enjoy the beer as it flows. And yeah, definitely go upstairs for the beer. I think the Mad Scientist is one of the most interesting breweries in the city right now, and they're just doing magical stuff. I found anyway. The last time I was there, I really enjoyed it.
It's good beer. They're getting around Europe as well. They're really, I've noticed they're showing up at festivals and getting into craft beer bars around Europe as well.
Yeah, you can have a couple drinks there and then just stroll through the Jewish Quarter, and you'll find a nice cafe that's open. They'll probably have a nice beer on too, or maybe grab a cup of coffee before you go to the next bar, because it is very, very walkable there, and you will find something cool to do. Yeah, around there.
There's a few other breweries and tap rooms around there too. We went into one, the kids and I, for dinner called First Craft Beer and Barbecue. First is the name of a Budapest brewery. I think it's pretty new, and they seem to be well financed, let's say. So it's quite a polished affair. It's not like one of those sort of ragtag kind of places you walk into and growing from the ground up. I think they've got a lot of money to start with, but it means you're gonna, from the outset, you've got a efficient staff and big menu, and and so sometimes I see the word barbecue. It sets unrealistic expectations in my mind.
St. Kansas City.
I'm from Missouri, man.
Yeah,
but they did have real barbecue.
Right.
It was a tiny piece of their menu, but they had like pulled pork and a couple other things. But it was mostly burgers and nachos and wings.
Yeah,
they did have goulash. So,
right.
So there was, if you had to have something Hungarian, if you're strict about these things, you could have a goulash.
But I mean, I feel like 5 years ago, it'd be surprising to be seeing all these burgers and barbecue and nachos and things like that. But now we've kind of gone past the Rubicon where everywhere you go, we've been in Warsaw, we've been all over. And it's just, this is what it is now. This is the sort of menu. Even when when we were in Rome and I was in Bologna last month, went to a beer bar and, sure enough, it's that same sort of set.
I don't have to like it, and I don't have to stop bitching about it either, Zach.
Right. But at least, like, for instance, if you're in Italy, it's going to be top notch.
Yeah. Well, the beer was all right, too.
Right.
They had 20 taps in there, I think, and they had a perfectly serviceable lager. Right. And then my kids noticed that on the menu there was a blueberry beer. It's like, Daddy, you have to get the blueberry beer. I was like, all right. I haven't had a proper fruit beer since the 1990s, so it's like, that's not a lambic or something, right? Or Berliner Weiss or whatever. So I was like, okay, let's try this blueberry ale, and it was, it tasted like blueberry soda. It was
right.
It was bright blue, and it was sweet, and yeah, my kids would have liked it if I'd. So maybe that's the target audience.
Give them a straw.
Yeah.
So first, though, is a German word. Is it associated with Germany whatsoever? Because it's sort of Like, isn't there a first beer
No, it's
here
actually
as well?
it's spelled in English, F-I-R-S-T.
Right. Oh, first as in first.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
First among equals, or
Right.
Yeah.
I thought it was F-U-R-S-T.
No,
Excuse me.
You know, that's another thing is, and I think that's not necessarily taking cues from the United States craft beer scene, but also it's, you know, a lot of non-Hungarians have a hard time pronouncing Hungarian or knowing how to say it, and we've
Oh yeah.
us doing our homework for this episode as well. We had to like look some things up, and we're still not going to get it right. So I think it makes sense to sort of go toward the quasi, not quite universal language of commerce being English, particularly for craft beer.
Yeah, especially if you're in a touristy part of the city. I mean, you got to kind of face some realistic traffic there. So,
speaking of pronunciation.
Yeah, I was going to say, and also, I guess a little more local food, a place that I really, really dig. I suppose it's kind of a ruin bar in and of itself, but it's kind of a little bit of a farmer's market. It's a bakery, different food installations, and there's a great, great beer bar.
How do you say it?
It's a LS2.
LS2.
And LS2, yeah. And if you look at it, it looks like Eletso. And if you say Eletso, people are probably going to stare at you funnily. And but yeah, Eletsu.
LS2. We'll spell it out for you on our little show notes.
Yeah, and we'll give you the map and everything. But you sort of walk in and there's a open area, but it's sort of like open courtyard. And there's a beer bar back, and I want to say there are 20 taps. There might be a few more now. Mostly focusing on local beer that they either brew there in home brewing courses that they put on, or that are from the area. So you can get like a mad scientist and different things like that there. And what I love is there's a bakery there where they're baking bread every single day. And one of the little kitchen pop-ups uses that bread in their sandwiches. And yes, they have like a pulled pork sandwich, and they do a really good like local Reuben. And so the pastrami is all done in-house, local Hungarian cheese that gets all nice and melty. Some nice spiced up sauerkraut on there. And so it feels like you're eating something from Hungary, even though it does have a bit of a lean towards a more international menu. I mean, it's a Reuben and a pulled pork sandwich, but they do other sandwiches. They do charcuterie boards with all local cheeses, smoked cheeses, all the kielbasa, spicy or not, local hams that come in. So it's very much, you can go hard local there with local pickles as well. Then the beer is just wonderful. So like I said, yeah, I think 20 or 22 taps in the back, and lots of places to sit. I want to say on the weekends, don't quote me on this, but on the weekends, there's a little bit of a farmer's market. So farmers bring in baskets of vegetables and fruits from the countryside. And so you can kind of stock up if you're in an Airbnb. You can grab something to cook at home later, have some, apples or fruit for breakfast. And it's just a really laid back atmosphere. I didn't find it overly touristy when I was there last time. That doesn't mean it isn't now. Like, people could have caught on by now because it's been around for about, I want to say 4 or 5 years.
And it's a little bit off the path, right? I mean, because it's a little bit south.
So you're going to have to, I believe you can take a tram there fairly easily, if memory serves. We'll also, like I said, we'll have this on the map with where it is, so you'll be able to find it through the show notes. It feels more local. And again, it's only been there for 4 or 5 years. And, sometimes these things take a minute to catch on. So now it could be blown up with tourists because they figured out how to ride the trams. However, when I was there, it was, late spring, early summer, really good crowd. Only heard people speaking Hungarian. Everybody behind the bar and the servers all spoke English happily. And it was really inexpensive. I don't remember spending that much money on beer.
Is there a coffee shop in there too or something?
Yeah, there's a really nice coffee shop. There's a wine bar as well, which is a lot of local wine.
So basically everything good.
Everything good in Hungary is there. And it's all seems very seasonal, local, and like local from the region. Yeah. As in, the brewers are, people who coming in and they do the home brewing course. It's so people can start like brewing their own beers and doing their own thing to kind of like seed the area with ideas.
Okay. How long has it been since you were there?
It's 2019, so I want to say 2017.
Okay. So I think since you were there, they added a special beer bar that it's a cask ale bar.
Yes. That's new. I thought that might have been there then. I just might not have noticed it.
Maybe it was last year they put it in, or maybe the year before.
It is newer, yeah.
But this is one reason I really wish I had gotten down there. There on the website, there's a picture of Roger Protz, my man Roger, who writes the Good Beer Guide to the UK. So he's the cask ale man for camera, Campaign for Real Ale. Anyway, they invited him out to help open the cask ale bar.
Nice.
So they had a VIP in there for it. And a cask ale bar, we don't have that in Germany, man.
No.
We don't. So I think that's pretty special, actually. That's pretty cool that they're doing.
That's worth going out there for alone.
And I imagine it's mostly Hungarian beers they're putting on cask. I can't imagine.
I would imagine as well, because the tap bar was already almost 100% positive, only local Hungarian beers from the region and maybe a few further afield in the country. But the focus was, this is our stuff. And that's why I kind of dug it. And especially the bakery there. Like, I don't eat that much bread, but the bakery is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
If it's farmer's market, you get a little bit of cheese, get a loaf of bread, take it home, boom, you're done for breakfast.
Beer, wine, bread, coffee, farmer's market. It's like, you could spend all your money drinking beer and then you can't afford to go to the restaurant. So then you self-cater at the market, go back to your flat. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's perfect.
And so, I mean, for me, it's sort of like, even if you are going to town to stay there just for a weekend, I would almost argue staying somewhere near there, and then you can just jump on the tram, because the trams run consistently. It's, like Prague. So you can get around very easily on public transportation. That is consistent.
You were talking about all the Hungarian beers. And so one thing I noticed in a lot of the bars was that a lot of them will be a mix of international beers. So if you want to try the local beers, but they weren't always, that many available.
Right.
So one that I found that did have a bunch was one I call Naked Chuck. And that's totally mispronounced, obviously. But it's not that far off. It's Naked Chuck. I think that's pretty close. Naked Chuck. It looks like Naked Cask, except the S and the A in cask are turned around. But I like Naked Chuck. Anyway, it kind of surprised us. It was just a thing I had on my list, and it was more or less convenient to where we were going. So I marched the family way out of the way to go there, and then they have 32 taps, almost all Hungarian beers, including their own, a couple that they brew there. It's a brew pub, a beer bar, and also a bistro. And that's a word I don't usually take too seriously. It's kind of a frou-frou marketing word a lot of times for a restaurant. But actually the food there was really good. And that was the best food I had the whole time we were in Budapest, is in this pub, or gastro pub, I suppose.
What did you have?
It was brunch time. They have a nice brunch menu. Kids were tucking into like waffles and brioche with goat cheese and jam. My wife was on the Eggs Benedict, I think, but the thing that jumped out at me on the menu was not available on the brunch menu, so I had to wait patiently until it was time for lunch. And it was listed as, and there's what I think was a fairly poor translation, as gristle, basically. It's like, oh, gristle, that sounds... So then I actually that can't be right. It's not really gristle, right? Because if it is, I probably have to order it just to see. So I did a little translation on the phone. It turns out to be basically cartilage. And it's rib tips. They were rib tips, okay? They're smoked rib tips, which is, if you're not familiar with the rib tips, like if you have pork spare ribs and you get St. Louis style, that's the part that's chopped off. Yeah. And sometimes in Chicago, I know they do rib tips, and this is barbecue Hungarian style. Yeah. Then given the extra gastro pub bistro twist, smoked rib tips. They were tempura battered fried. Then they sprinkle the green onions over it, and then drizzled over it was this kind of mild, very Moorish salted caramel sauce. Wow. It was so good.
So tempura fried
smoked rib tips. The salted caramel sauce.
That's kind of crazy.
It was delicious. It was good. And the beers were good too. We had some, cutting edge, highly ranked on untapped, cloudy New England IPAs there from breweries like Horizont and then I tried the local beer from. They had a pretty nice a pale ale there that they brew, and so it was a nice little place, and that's a place I would definitely go back to if I were to go back. The atmosphere is okay. It's a little bit a lot of picture windows, a bit bright, and not my kind of dark brown and dirty place, but it was family friendly.
Still trying to get over the tempura fried barbecue. That seems like such a masterful thing, but also why do we need deep fried barbecue? But now I want to try it. I'm going to probably dream about it tonight. Yeah. And then probably try to do it at home and just have to end up going to Budapest to try it for real.
Yeah. I can't do that at home. We have rules.
Right. We have rules. We don't tempt God that way. So where's next? Where would you go next for something a little more just down and dirty drinking?
Well, like I said, I was with my kids, so
Right.
but actually there is another bar that they really liked. And we did do stuff without beer, and I'll get to that too. But there's a tap room not too far from Liberty Square and near Parliament and all that, and it's the Hedon tap room. And the Hedon is a brewery, and it's not in Budapest. It's down at Lake Balaton, which, as I learned, is the largest freshwater lake in Central Europe. The brewery looks like a beautiful little spot near the water, sand volleyball court. They call it brewery and playground.
Right.
Sand volleyball courts and ping pong and like big cushy things to lay around on.
And that lake is awesome in the summer.
Oh, you've been there?
I went there a while back, and it's a lot of fun.
Okay.
So if you're there in the summer, it is worth the stop, especially if you're going from Prague to Budapest. Time it so you can stop there overnight, grab a spot. You'll have a good time.
Could you do a day trip from Budapest to the lake?
Easily.
Okay.
Very easily, yeah.
Probably direct trains and whatnot.
Yeah, car, bus. I think the train goes past there. I'm not positive right now.
Okay.
Because I can't remember the train. There might be a train that goes up that way, but I think the train veers sort of towards Bratislava, so you might have to get off and like take a bus. Don't quote me on that.
I mean,
it's been a while.
It looked
since I've been there.
beachy. I mean, it's a freshwater lake.
Surprisingly beachy, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of good times, a lot of people there having a good time, and family stuff during the day, but also a lot of fun stuff at night if you want to party.
All right. So it's like the Great Lake.
A little.
It's like it's like the Chicago of Europe. They have rib tips and they have a big lake. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. And lots of craft beer. Back to Budapest, I suppose.
Right.
The Hedon tap room is really gimmicky. It's one of those pour your own beer places, which I know I've been to a couple in the States before. I like them. I know some people really don't like them for different reasons. They figure if you're paying the money, someone should pour your beer for you, so on. But I think it's kind of fun, as long as not every bar turns into one of these, you know?
One every now and then isn't going to kill nobody.
No, exactly. Yeah. So you walk in, you pay up front. They give you a little plastic card. You can, pay as much as you want to pay. And if you need to top it off later, you can always do that. Pick yourself a clean glass. There's a few different sizes and shapes depending on what you're in the mood for or what you're going to drink, I suppose. You can give it a quick rinse if you want to. And then there's, on the far side of the bar, a wall of 30 taps. About half of them were their own beers. And they were pretty good, I have to say. I was surprised. There was like pretty high standard there. Generally speaking, there was a really good saison that I don't remember the name of that I really enjoyed that was convincing, and I'm really picky about those. So that was fun. And I enjoy that, although it's a good lesson for the kids in like a math lesson, subtraction in real time. Like you put your little card on the thing and you pull the tap and you can see your Hungarian forints begin to disappear immediately as your glass fills with beer. And there's also like a water tap so the kids can fill their own water, which is fun for them for now anyway. In a couple of years, I don't know if they're still going to enjoy that, but and they liked it because they had pizza and they had TVs and pizza. That's all my kids want.
Right.
That's all they want.
And then you can sit there and drink.
Yeah, I had
and eat pizza.
Yeah, again, like not my kind of atmosphere. It was sort of like a hipster McDonald's, but
I've been to a bar like that in Munich of all places, and it is a good time for especially if you got a good group of friends that you're going in and everybody's into it.
It's fun.
You go in there, you put $20 on your card, and when the $20 is done, you leave.
Yep.
That's simple as that. Yeah. A good pit stop. Well, it's kind of crazy because always whenever I was in Budapest, it seems like when you're on the Buda side, you kind of do that during the day. And so you like tour the castle and you go see where Beethoven played a concert and Mozart played a concert. And there's that little sort of lane back behind the castle with a couple little old like restaurants and stuff. And the castle, I mean, that's a good afternoon being up there, just sort of walking around. So you can like build up your beer hunger.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah, and you get a view
really
over
pretty.
the city as well.
The views from the bridge and of the bridge are just really, especially at night.
Oh, God, yeah. And it's also nice because you can take that, what are they called, funiculars, up to the cat. Like you walk over the bridge and there's that funicular that goes all the way to the top.
Now you're going to get the song in my head. Funicular, funicular, funicular. Now it'll be stuck in my head for days. Thank you. Thanks for that, for mentioning the funicular.
But no, it's pretty easy, especially because it pretty much drops you off right by the bridge. So you walk over the bridge and boom, you're back into the other side of town where you can easily find a place to go and have a good drink. Do you think it's worth going into the castle or just walking around?
I didn't go into the castle. We had only a few days there. What we did do, which was really fun, was the labyrinth. Well, it's literally a labyrinth of underground tunnels that are all interconnected on Buda Hill, like basically beneath the castle. And it is apparently historically true that Dracula himself was kept prisoner there. So that adds this sort of like horror theme going on there. And actually, as it turns out, it's pretty scary down there. It's not entirely well lit, which I think is by design. And so if you're a little bit brave, or you have a light on your phone and are willing to explore, or maybe you carry a flashlight around with you, I don't think anybody does that anymore. There are these, you see that the tunnel keeps going, but there are no lights leading down there. So you know, what's down here? And you'll find things. Like you'll find scary little displays of blue people, like they look like aliens or monsters, and you're not sure what it's about. Probably it's a big hit at Halloween, or I don't know, and you don't know where it is. You have to sort of stumble across it through some dark tunnels, but there is a little thing about Vlad Tepes, and a little bit of a story there, but it's good fun just to explore. And it also, they have a bunch of costumes down there from the local opera, authentic sort of period type stuff on displays, and then they have statues of various Hungarian kings. So there's a bit of history there too.
It sounds very Games of Thrones.
Yeah, and there's one you can sit on, right. For pictures, and we enjoyed that a lot, and it was pretty spooky. And then after that, everybody's thirsty. So
right. So what's one last place you think you should definitely go to when you're in Budapest?
Well, Zach, I'm so glad you asked, because this city has, as you know, one of my favorite things, a pinball museum. The Flipper Museum is actually one of the best in this genre.
Yes, and that's saying a lot coming from you, because you dive deep.
It costs about the equivalent of around $10 to get in, and then it's all you can play. It is kind of a little labyrinth itself down there, but the holes are lined with old pinball games and arcade games, and a lot of like tabletop type games, including a Star Wars one I'd never seen before. And of course you have your old like classic Flash Gordon games and Lord of the Rings stuff that's not so old but still really fun to play. And so games of all types, you can spend a lot of time in that. There's no beer in there, which may be a point in its favor. It's nice to have little spaces where beer can't find you, I suppose. But it was really fun. And my kids seem attracted to the arcade games. I found myself like trying to remember old Mortal Kombat moves with my 9-year-old. But it was great fun. I think that's another one that you could do, any time of day with all ages and have a good time, and get a cool break. Cool souvenir T-shirt at the end. Yeah.
Right on. Cool. I think that's Budapest.
We didn't talk about strudel. We didn't talk about, is it langosh, the fried bread with the sour bread, cream and cheese all over it?
Oh my God. Or sometimes you get it with ham with melted cheese on it and a little bit of like spicy sauce. Man. Oh, it's one of the best things ever. It's fried bread, for God's sakes.
The strudels are so good, Yeah. With the poppy seeds or walnuts in them, and they're not very sweet. And cherries, sour cherries.
I really dig the one that's completely filled with poppy seed, because it's more earthy and sort of like, it's not as sweet. I mean, you can put cream on it, but it's one of my favorite things ever.
Yeah, we'll have to do a whole other show on the Hungarian food.
Just the food in Budapest.
Chicken paprikash, we're talking about that. The fisherman stew, so much. Okay, well, now we've mentioned the Middle East. So
yes, exactly. And that's just it. Like, what I love about Budapest is, especially when you're at a place like the Jewish Quarter or on the Pest side, you can just walk around and, follow your nose and follow the people, and you'll find some good food around.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay, well, that is our episode. You can follow us on Twitter at Road for the Beer. You can follow us on Instagram at One More Road for the Beer. Please rate us and subscribe on iTunes or wherever else you listen to podcasts. And you can find me on Uprock's Life, Zach Johnston. You can also find me on Twitter at ZTP_Johnston and Instagram at ZTP Johnston. Joe, where can we find you?
ThirstyPilgrim.com is my little blog. I've got Thirsty_Pilgrim on Twitter. Or, Google us up. We're around.
And don't forget, if you're going to Belgium, what book should we buy?
Thank you, my friend. A good beer guide to Belgium. I think we ought to get back to Belgium in another show soon, don't you think?
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
So this show was edited by Teskard in Berlin, and we shall see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.